Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be analyzing a game that was played against two players, and these two players' ratings are below 1000. Let's get started. White moves the pawn to e4. Again, this is a good move because it opens up lines for the bishop and the queen, and it gets the pawn in the center. Black replied with pawn to e5. Again, good move. It gets a pawn in the center and also opens up lines for the bishop and the queen. And then white moved the pawn to h4. This is not a good move because first of all, this pawn is not in the center, and in the opening, you want to get the knights and the bishops out. So this move is not great. If you want me to analyze one of your chess games, please share the game with me and I will be happy to analyze your chess game. And also, if you like watching my videos, I do invite you to subscribe to my channel. Okay, let's go back to the game. So knight to f6, that's a good move. Notice the knight is attacking this pawn. Bishop goes there, okay? And then what we want to do is beginners should ask questions. So you always want to ask, like, okay, can I safely capture a piece? In this position, the knight could have just taken this pawn for free, right? So that's what I would do. But Black decided to move the pawn here. And yes, it is safe because the queen and the knight are defending the pawn. So it's safe to take it. It's safe for the pawn to move up 2 spaces. Let's see how white responds. And the bishop goes there, and the bishop's checking the king. What does black do? Pawn goes to c6. This is a good move. Notice that it blocks the check, and then this is a very nice pawn chain. And white decides to move the bishop back. In this position, what I would probably do is I would probably maybe go bishop to e2. This move, it's a little bit awkward because notice this pawn on d2, it cannot move. And notice that the pawn and the knight are attacking this pawn. So white's in a little bit of trouble right now. White, let's see what happens. Okay. Bishop goes to g4. Notice it's safe to move this bishop here. The knight's protecting the bishop, and the bishop is attacking the queen. Let's see what white does. Pawn goes to f3. Okay. And then after that, the bishop goes back. Okay, that makes sense. You have to be careful when you move up the f2 pawn, because when the f2 pawn is moved, notice that the king's diagonal, it's open, it's exposed. So white needs to be very careful right now. Let's see what happens. Pawn goes to h5, and in this position, the b knight goes to d7. Another move that black can do is simply just move the pawn to h6 because it stops the pawn from going to h6. So I would probably go pawn to h3, but black moves the b knight to d7. Okay. Pawn takes, and then the bishop takes. Okay, in this position, taking the bishop, I'm taking the pawn with the bishop, that's okay. In this position, I would probably take it with the c pawn, and the reason why I want to do that is because then I get another pawn in the center. And then this is very, very nice. But black decides to take the pawn with the bishop. Okay. And then after that, pawn goes there. It's attacking the bishop. And let's see what happens. The bishop goes back. Okay, that makes sense. You don't want to lose a bishop for a pawn. pawn goes there, and then the queen goes here. Okay, I think in this position, black can also just take the pawn. And the reason why is, notice that it's not safe for this rook to take the pawn on h6 because of this bishop. The bishop's protecting the pawn. But going back to the actual game, queen goes to b6. This is interesting. Notice this queen, it is controlling the f2 square and also b squares too. So that's fine. Pawn goes there, and then let's see what happens. Black decides to castle, and this is fine. Also notice that black can also move the knight to c5, and that makes a threat. And the knight can also go to b3 on the very next move. But black decides to castle queenside. It's no problem. So pawn takes, okay, and then bishop takes, okay. That's fine. Queen goes to e2. Notice that it's attacking this pawn. Okay. And then after that, okay, so the knight goes to c5, and notice that black is threatening to take the bishop. Notice the knight and rook are attacking this bishop, so that's good. And white decides to move it back. Okay, that makes sense because to save the bishop. Okay. And then black decides to move the knight back. In this position, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's interesting. I think like maybe another idea that white, I'm sorry, another idea that black can do is to simply just move the knight to b3, because if the bishop takes, then queen can go here. And notice that the b2 pawn cannot move, and this would be very good. This rook is this rook can't really move. Let's go back. And these pawns, the b2 pawn cannot move. So that's what I would probably do, knight to b3. But moving on, knight goes there, pawn goes there, and then black moves the pawn to e4. This move makes sense. If you notice right now, the bishop, the pawn, and this rook, they're all on the same diagonal. But right now, since the pawn is on e4, this bishop can only go to f6, h6, and then f8. So moving this pawn up is good because it opens up more squares for this bishop to go to. What happens? Pawn goes there, and then the pawn goes to f5. Again, you want to ask questions such as, can I safely capture any pieces? In this position, I would definitely just take the pawn on b2. Bishop takes, and then this queen goes here, and then this is very good for black because the queen is attacking this rook. But let's go back to what actually happened in the game. Pawn goes to f5, bishop goes there. Okay, so it's attacking the rook, and then the bishop goes to f6. Yeah, that's fine. In this position, black can also just take the pawn on b2 to attack the rook, but black decides to go there. Okay, bishop goes there, and then pawn goes there again. It's very important to ask questions such as, can I safely capture a piece? In this position, again, I would definitely just take this pawn so I can just capture this rook. But going back, pawn goes there, and then bishop goes there. Okay, pawn takes, good. Bishop goes there. Okay, and then what do we do now? the queen goes there. This move makes sense because, first of all, it's checking the king. However, there is a problem. Well, I don't know. Actually, no. Yeah, I guess black is doing okay. I was thinking that the white pawn can go here, but then black can get out of this pawn fork by by the knight taking the bishop, and then the knight is checking the king, so therefore the pawn can't take the queen. But going back to the actual game, the bishop goes there. Okay, and what happens? The black queen goes there. Okay. Okay. Bishop goes there. Okay, so the bishop went back and attacked that knight. And then again, what I would do in this position is I think we could also just take I think we could just take this pawn, can't we? Or the queen takes the pawn, but okay. Knight goes here. Okay, and I notice that both knights are attacking the bishop. This rook is also attacking the bishop too. Pawn goes there. Okay, notice that the pawn is now attacking the bishop. What happens? So, yep, that's a good move. Let's see what happens. King goes there. That's a good move. And so I really like this. Notice the rook, the knight and king, they're all on the same line, so we can do a double attack move. Black decides to take the pawn, and it is safe to do that. Again, the pawn can't take the knight because this rook is checking the king. So not bad. Let's see what happens. King goes there, and then the bishop takes rook. Okay, I think that's decent. Another move that black can do is to simply just move the knight to d3 and check the king if the knight takes. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense for the queen to take it because then they can just take the queen. But black decides to take the rook. Okay. And then the pawn takes the knight. So in this position, what I would probably do is that we want to save the knight on b4. So instead of taking the rook, let's move the knight over here. And then once this king goes here, then we can safely take the rook. And notice on the very next move, black cannot capture the knight on b4 because we already moved it to d3. So that's what I would probably do. But in the game, bishop takes rook, pawn takes. Okay, but black is already in the winning position. Okay, queen takes pawn. I like this move. Also notice that now the knight, it's no longer pinned. Notice this bishop, it's pinning the knight to the queen. So I do like queen to b4. King goes there. Let's see what happens. Rook goes to f8. Not bad. Notice right now this rook is not doing anything, so we definitely want to get this rook into play. So that's good. And then the knight goes there. Okay. And then the bishop goes there and it takes the queen. Okay, that's fine. Also notice another move that black can do is to just move the knight over to e4 to check the king. But bishop goes here. I think that's perfectly fine. It is attacking the queen. Queen goes there. White is offering a queen trade. I wouldn't want... Okay, yeah. So knight goes there. It checks the king. That's good. King goes there. And let's see what happens. Rook goes here. I'm trying to figure out why, like, how does this work? But okay, queen takes. So I'm not too sure why the rook went to d1. What's the idea with this move? Because I mean the queen takes, but what is, like, what's the follow up? I'm not too sure. It's like if you are trying to attack, you gotta make sure that your sacrifice works 100% of the time, because rook take goes there, queen takes, knight goes there, but I mean, I don't know about that. Okay, king goes there. What? Wait, why? Okay, yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Why king to h2? Maybe the rook should just take this pawn. But okay, king goes there. Knight takes. Then the king takes it back. Okay, you guys have to remember that the rook is worth more than the knight. The rook is worth 5 points, and then the knight is worth 3 points. So that's why I want to take this pawn right now. But okay, knight takes rook, king takes, pawn goes there. This makes sense because this bishop, it is attacking this pawn. So I guess Black wants to protect the pawn by moving the pawn to b6. Okay, what happens now? Okay, so bishop goes there, and then the queen goes there. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it's a queen trade. In this position, what I would probably do is I would probably maybe move the queen to d6. So the queen has access to these squares, and if this bishop ever moves, then the queen can just take the queen. But okay, so queen trade, bishop takes. After this, bishop goes there. Okay, that makes sense. Rook goes there. It's attacking the bishop. And then bishop goes there. It's attacking the rook. Okay. And then rook goes there. Okay. Yes. So this is a good move. When you're playing chess, you want to move and make a threat. The threat is moving the rook to d1, and then this is a rook fork. So that's good. And that's what black does. Okay, fantastic. King goes there, takes the knight. This is good. Knight goes there. And then notice the knight, it's attacking the pawn, and I think that's why the bishop goes here to protect the pawn. Okay, not bad. Knight goes there. Okay. And then the pawn goes here. This is fine. It seems like black wants to promote the pawn to the queen. I guess that's fine. And then let's see what happens. Pawn goes here. Okay, I like this move because black has a strong plan. So this is good. Okay, pawn goes there. Pawn goes there. Knight goes there. Okay. And then, yep, you always want to ask if, what am I attacking? Moving the knight here, it's not safe because the bishop could just take it, and that's what black does. Good job. King goes there, pawn goes there, king goes there, and then black gets a queen. Okay, good. And then this should be a very easy checkmate. So this is fine. King goes there. Okay. Rook goes there. Bishop goes and blocks the check. Rook goes there. And then this is a very nice checkmate. Notice that the rook is checking the king cannot go to h5, thanks to the bishop and the rook. The king cannot go to bishop to g6 because the pawn is protecting it, and the king cannot go to g7 thanks to this bishop on d4. So I thought that this was a very nice win for black. And if we have any takeaways, my recommendation is if you can safely capture a piece, go ahead and just take it. Instead of moving pawn to d5, let's move the pawn. Let's go ahead and take the pawn with the knight. And then the other recommendation is maybe instead of moving the knight to b7, maybe you can move the pawn to h6 so this pawn cannot advance farther. And then make sure you want to have you have one pawn in the center, so we suggest for you to take the pawn with the c pawn. So now you've got two pawns in the center. So that's another takeaway. Not bad. And then what happens now? Oh yeah. So one thing you could consider of doing right now is, well, you know, moving forward. Yeah. So I think this is fine. You could also let's see, let's go back. That's fine. You may want to just consider just taking this pawn right now. If bishop takes knight, then the knight can just take it. So that's good. Okay, yeah, it was a good game, but then the other concern is I'm not too sure about rook to d1. In this position, what I would probably do is queen takes, and then knight takes, and then the rook can go here, and then notice the king can't take because of this bishop. The king can go here. If rook takes, king takes, this rook can also go here, and then this is a very nice rook fork. So you gotta make sure, it's like if you make a rook sacrifice, you gotta make sure that this works. I'm just very confused about this rook move, but I'm glad that black won. Okay. So yep. Yep. So I hope that you found some value of watching this game. I hope you like watching my videos. If you would like to support my channel, all you need to do is to go click the support my channel button. On this page, then you can give a donation. Thanks in advance if you do that. If you like watching my videos, then I also invite you to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.